If you're tired of not making progress and you're ready to be the artist you know you're meant to be, you're in the right place. You're listening to the Singer's Path podcast. The Path, or Performing Artists Training Hub, will cover everything, including singing tips that actually work, advice from top industry professionals, and life-changing mindset shifts. Out with the starving artist and in with the thriving artist. I'm your host, Sarah Bishop, professional singer, actor, educator, and entrepreneur. I'm not afraid to speak the truth and stop the gatekeeping of quality information so you can actually become the artist you dream of being. So let's get on the path, shall we? Even though we're all on our own journeys, it always helps to have a guide.
Hello, and welcome back to the Singer's Path podcast. It is me, your host, Sarah Bishop, and we're actually back after a little hiatus. I can't remember the last time I did an episode. Honestly, I think it might have been April. Oh, I don't know. It's been a second. And the reason for that is because of a couple things. We are in the process of building up a YouTube channel that is going to be all on talking about the technical elements of singing, right? And doing teacher reacts and coachings on songs and all of that. So that's on my normal YouTube channel where this podcast was previously hosted. But we also created a new channel for the podcast itself. So there's a new channel now for the Singer's Path podcast, okay? And if you're watching this video right now on YouTube, that's the channel you're on. You're not on the Let's Learn to Sing channel so much. You're on the podcast channel. And we did that because we didn't want to oversaturate the main channel with podcast episodes. And we're kind of in a pickle right now because I would love to move all of the podcast episodes that were uploaded to YouTube without video over to this new channel, but I don't think I can. So without YouTube flagging it, or I don't know, it might ding the other channel, because the channel that we're going to be building up and doing all these reacts and teachings, as you can see if you're watching this video and you're not just listening to the audio, I am decked out in almost gothic emo makeup, complete with a choker and an off-the-shoulder tee and an orange wax to my hair to give it a hue like Hayley Williams of Paramore. But you'll see we are adding this video element to it that didn't happen before. And so this is kind of our first episode back, introducing video more to podcasts, so that on YouTube, on this its own channel, the Singer's Path podcast channel, now you can actually see me. But if you're curious about any of the other 70 freaking episodes that we've done, those are on the @SingWithBish channel. If you're on YouTube and you're like, oh, I kind of like this podcast and I'd love to hear more of what I've talked about, or if I'm referencing something from earlier, it's going to be over there on the other channel. And I think I'll have it linked so that you can check out the older videos and stuff. It's on a playlist over there. But anyway, here we are. We're doing our own thing over here on YouTube, having its own space so we can have this discussion and we can talk at a deeper level of more of the emotional and mental journey of being a pro artist, and not only on vocal pedagogy stuff, which the Sing with Bish YouTube is going to be mostly vocal stuff. I'm giving you guys two separate spaces to make it a little bit clear over what we're talking about. Again, here on the podcast, sometimes, it's called the Singer's Path podcast. Sometimes we're gonna talk about singing, obviously, but more often than not, we talk about the realities of the livelihood of being a professional artist. If you decide you want to be a singer, we talk about issues that just aren't talked about a lot here. And in today's episode, actually, I wanted to get into some of that emotional side of things again. And in this regard, I want to talk about feeling or having to do everything all the time. And I wanted to be a little bit more transparent about my background running the business and how I'm still auditioning and stuff, and kind of talk about why this has been on my mind a lot lately, and just kind of give you a heads up that I'm always talking about make your life as a pro artist, whatever that is, how you want to be. Everybody's is going to look different. And I talk a lot recently when we were talking about the Inner Circle membership, and we're talking about there's an inevitable artist activation, which is a whole challenge about manifesting your life the way that you want to do that. And I just want to like speak to both ends of this experience, and share more details about like what happens when you decide to give the middle finger up to whoever has told you is the way you have to live your life in order to have your dreams come true. And like, what's the payoff? Like, what's the flexibility needed? Like, all of that. And just give an example. Again, everybody's different, but I kind of want to open the door to this conversation because it's been popping off a bit on social media. And I want to make sure, yeah, that we have a space to kind of talk about this more in depth. All right. So, first of all, if you don't know me, this is the first time you're seeing me on YouTube. Again, I'm a professional actor and singer. I've done gigs that, are supposed to go to Broadway. The Broadway Griswold's Broadway Vacation is in Broadway pre-production. And then I've also been in Cabaret, which is the roundabout Tony Award-winning production of Cabaret, where I toured the country with that show for about a year and a half. And I've done other regional theater productions of shows like The Other Josh Cohen and The Music Man and Tick Tick Boom and Sound of Music. And I've worked professionally for the last 10 years on and off. I've done a lot of like developmental workshops. Monopoly the Musical was a thing once. That's not happening from what I understand. There was also talks of, some shows you might not know of yet. There's a show called Mythic that was happening that was part of development for. There's a show that was called Summer Stock that I helped with, with one of the workshops on. So I'm also doing workshops of new stuff. I was in the Broadway cast recording, like the pre-cast recording. It was like a teaser album for the Griswold's Broadway Vacation. I've worked in session singing on major motion pictures. I was recently singing some oohs and ahs in The Devil Wears Prada too. So so basically I gig, I do stuff. I've sung it in different venues. I've done a bunch of stuff. Okay. And my background is in musical theater. I went to the College Conservatory of Music, CCM, which is like one of the top programs in the world for the arts and musical theater particularly, and the voice. And so I got my fancy degree. I moved to New York. I started booking work. And then, in between and all of that, I was really in my younger 20s trying to figure out how to make this life sustainable for me. And, I often nowadays, like now I'm a vocal coach, right? I got trained through the Institute of Vocal Advancement. I have my whole business. I have followers on TikTok and Instagram. And if you're not following me, go check that out, where I give more content that's similar to what we're talking about here on the podcast. But so that's like my background. Like I'm very much actively auditioning and I very much have a business. My husband, we have a home in Pittsburgh. That's where I am at now in my nice, beautiful, fancy, big studio. And then we also rent an apartment in New York. So I'm very much like living a Hannah Montana life. Like I have two lives here that I am juggling between. And I was reflecting on my life recently and kind of thinking back to advice that I got in college when I was at CCM, and how we would have people from the industry like come in and talk to us about like how to be successful. And there'd be like these talkbacks, which now I think about and I'm like, gosh, everybody's just like trying to get by and doing their own thing, right? Like, so we would listen to like other industry professionals, casting, agents, some of which were old school. We'd listen to some actors. Some advice was better than others. But something that I remember hearing a lot when I was auditioning for colleges or even like going to enter the professional world was this idea that if you could do anything else, meaning if you had any other talents or passions for any other industry, so like law, medical, business, I don't know, if you had any other interest, technology, I don't know, if you were good at anything else, everybody would be like, if you have anything else that you could do that, and don't do this. That was like everybody's advice, which so this brings me to the point of which I was reflecting on my life, being like, yeah, I'm like doing a bunch of stuff, and that's bullshit, what we were told. Like just choose, like you're gonna have to choose. And I think the idea of it was that life is hard as a pro artist, which I don't know how much I love that, because life is hard no matter what, you know what I mean? Like choose your hard. Is it gonna be hard because, you're between acting gigs, or is it going to be hard because you took a job that sucks your soul out, right? Like like, I don't know, like I hate that advice in general because it like mentally sets you up for hardship. I think it like pre-anticipates that. And when I was talking about the inevitable artist activation, which is all about like changing your mindset to match the person you want to be and become that. Yeah, we're very much not about just like anticipating the dread of difficulty. Is there a reality that things are challenging? Yes. I'm not telling you that like life won't be challenging and you won't have to make choices, but in general, I think it just like sets people up badly to like expect there to be hardship versus, well, maybe I'm the exception. Maybe it works out for me. Maybe there's always work for me. Maybe my art makes me a lot of money. Maybe this is the lifestyle for me, right? Like it's it's dousing that before the person has the opportunity to even discover if like what their aligned life is. And so basically I made this video on Instagram. It blew up on Instagram. TikTok's been like fuck TikTok right now, guys. Like I'm just not about it. Instagram is being fine. That's another reason we're moving to YouTube and you know, diversifying here because of whatever this trade was not good from the US. But anyway, I made this video, and on this video when I talked about this and how it kind of creates this like woe is me, I'm choosing this hard life as an actor because I can't do anything else and that's like my destiny because I'm untalented in other areas. Like this is my only talent. This is the only thing I could do. Like I have to do this. I don't have any other means of making this work for me because I don't have any other skills or things I like. So I have to do this. It just like, what? Like it creates this like drama and like this weird mix of like helplessness that like I didn't choose this life. It chose me. It's like, okay, like you can learn a skill that makes you money though, so you can keep doing that life so that you don't become desperate and miserable and then your mental health suffers when you're inevitably in between gigs, which everybody is. So like it's just flawed. It's oversimplified. It's setting people up in a weird mindset when they go in. And yeah, it's creating this like weird victim mentality that like I can't do anything else. And then people that end up taking this route and pursuing this and maybe they do have success and they've been working consistently on Broadway. Maybe they're an ensemblist and they've been working consistently. I've met so many friends, I talked to so many friends who work on Broadway for, I don't even know, like 6 or 7 years. And then they start to get so burned out and they're sitting there in their mid-30s being like, I don't have any skills, or like I was a dancer, like I don't know what to do now, like I don't, like what do I do? And a lot of them go to nursing school, like they pivot, right? They pivot later when their dreams shift and change, which happens to most people. And it's like what I wanted to open up about this conversation is like, why are we so like there's all this weird sticky emotion and attachment around like having to identify so hard with I'm this or that. And when I was reflecting on my life, like I am a representation of the opposite of that. Like I even had a podcast at one point. I think it's still out there. I don't know if it is by the time you're listening to it, but it's called Jack of All Trades, Master of Nothing, because I had a teacher that was such a bitch. And she would like tell me all the time that I was Jack of all trades, master of nothing. Master of none is the actual sentence. She was fucking stupid, so she didn't say it right. But she would just like belittle me and like kind of bully me because I had a lot of talents and I was always kind of good at a lot of things. I was always a multi-hyphenate doing many activities. And she would say, if you don't focus in on this one thing, then it's not going to happen for you. And this is like what I want to open up this conversation because like in this paradoxical world that we exist in, both can be true, right? Is it true that sometimes as someone that has a business and is auditioning all the time and is doing this and is doing that and is moving back and forth and has multiple skills and is doing business and is doing marketing and content and all of this stuff, right? Like, is it true that if I focused on one thing, could I get better at that one skill? Yeah. Is it also true that when I focus on one thing that it doesn't actually feel good and it puts me in a rut, it puts me in my head and it makes me like control things? Sure. So is it possible to do multiple things at once? Yeah. Is it also true that it's hard? And then sometimes I can't do multiple things at one time and I have to like make decisions and choose priorities and all of that? Yes, that's also true. And so I made this video about this sketch, kind of talking about how, hey, this advice is kind of horseshit as long as you decide it's not for you. It doesn't have to be for you. You don't actually have to decide now my life for the rest of my life is going to be a starving, struggling artist because I can't do anything else. Instead, it's asking and begging the question like, no, like in order to be a well-rounded person, an artist, and do well and be somewhat detached from needing a certain outcome, what if you did some other stuff with your life, like found a hobby? Like it doesn't even have to be you have to make money from other things necessarily, but when you're so obsessed and fixated on something having to go a certain way, in my experience and in my life, when I didn't have my business, when I didn't have other things that I was pursuing, that was where I ran into the most trouble. My 20s were like miserable because I was putting all my eggs in the basket. I was doing what everybody was telling me to do. If you're good at anything else, do that. It was like, okay, well, I'm good at this and this is what I want to do. So I'm going to only focus on this. It made me so bad at auditioning because I didn't have any other skills that could pay my bills that I liked. I didn't have any other place of fulfillment in my life. When I went into auditions, it was like I was begging people to allow me to do the thing I loved because I was putting what I loved outside of me instead of taking control and being like, "Oh, I can actually do this whenever I want in my way." I can write a show and be in it. I can read a play with my friends in a room and sing through songs and be happy and choose to make things because that's actually what I signed up here is to be a creator of some sort, create things. And as long as I'm, giving myself that, well, then I personally, I can make money helping people in another way, right? And another thing that was eating at me when I was just auditioning and I was doing like just focus on that. If you're just doing musical theater, that's the only thing you're going to be able to focus on when I also was doing that, there was like this deep sense of like unfulfillment actually, because I was auditioning constantly. It felt like every opportunity was outside of me, and I didn't feel like I was giving back to the world in the way that I was supposed to. And so there was this gnawing feeling of emptiness and that I wasn't doing something right. So again, when I was continuing to listen to this advice of like, no, focus just on this thing, because I was listening to my old dance teacher who was a bully and was like trying to get me to focus in. And I was telling myself over and over and over again, that's why it's not happening for me. Well, it turns out for me in my life, it was the opposite. The more that I lived a full life, I said yes to my passion for teaching. I said yes to my entrepreneurial spirit and my mindset. I said yes to wanting to have a big platform and like make things to help other people, make an entire storefront to transform people's lives and voices. When I was finally listening to other things that my heart wanted to do, that's when my life blew up in a beautiful way. Okay. And I made this video about this and it triggered people. It triggered a lot of older people. And I feel like because people like older generations, things are done way differently. I don't know in the 90s or 2000s that this would be possible. They didn't have self-tapes the same way. And not everything was online and remote with Zoom callbacks and things that make what I do possible. If you had a business, it was a brick and mortar business. Like my business is online. Like I can technically do it whenever or wherever I want. I can take a gig and move my camera and my equipment and continue my YouTube channel or continue to make podcast episodes or teach remotely if I need to. And that was a door that was opened to me because of the times, because of technology, because I don't know, like I followed what made sense to me and it opened up and it presented itself. Instead of me even logically trying to figure out how I was going to get it to work, all I needed to do was like, I like this thing makes me happy, this thing makes me happy. Okay, I'm going to follow that and I will also do this when it comes around. That to me, like completely shifted my life. Okay. And some people were really condescending in this commentary section. They were like, oh, sugar, it's just not going to happen. Like, you can't be on Broadway and also have a business and also do this. And I was like, actually, I'm already doing it though. So, guess I can. Oopsie. But she kept, it was like this whole paragraph of how this was never going to happen for me. But like the joke is it already did. Right. And so I didn't end up being nasty to this person. I did put her in her place. I was like, hey, respectfully, kind of doing it already. It's happening. I'm currently living it. So you're wrong. But thanks for trying to tell me how my life was gonna turn out. Okay. But anyway, and then she got all defensive and she was like, hey, you can't have a brick and mortar and you can't, and there will be trade-offs. Okay. Now this is the point I want to talk about because she's not like wrong, right? Sure, when you decide to take on and follow everything that you have in your heart, I think there's like a soul connection to doing that and that like really matters to follow those things. But two, like it's important to keep in mind, like if you're a multi-passion, you have multiple things you want to do. You have to keep in mind that you only have so much energy and hours in a day. Okay. So you're going to have to learn to be really efficient. You're going to have to see where any energy leaks exist in your life. Like for me, it's scrolling. I don't have time to sit there and scroll and like worry about a ton of people in the comments or just constantly be consuming content. When you choose to be a creator and create in every way possible and blow up a business and continue to put your art out there, yeah, you don't have time to be consuming so much, right? You can consume things that can feed your art in a healthy way or decompress, but like I have to budget my time in a completely different way. I'm about to go to England and then I'm going to go work in New Hampshire and do this regional gig for 2 months. And I had to plan and make choices about how I was going to be teaching this summer, which I chose not to teach, which again is another financial choice. Oh, okay, I'm going to pour into growing this YouTube channel and doing ad revenue and changing and doing a more passive version of the business because, you know, I am recognizing there has to be choices. I'm coming here. I don't have enough vocal budget to teach for 8 hours and then go do a 2-hour long show, right? So like, that's the thing is like, yes, but like each person's life and their capacity to do more is going to depend on the person. And you have to be honest with yourself about that. There have been some hiccups in my life where I've noticed that like, okay, I am actively doing all these things. This is actively happening. And I might not be able to do them all at the same time, or some things might have to slow in their tempo while other things speed ahead. This becomes a priority while this goes ahead. This becomes a priority as this goes ahead. And sometimes that's even like my family and my husband and how much time I'm spending at home. Like I have to budget in rest, which I don't do enough. And I learned the hard way because I was starting to get sick. Like I was getting sick like 10 times in a year because I was wearing myself down so much, right? There's only so much energy you have. And as you're growing your capacity to be able to do more, I would say like you get more specific about what you have time for, what you don't have time for. You start to hire people to do tasks that you can't do. And hopefully you have the revenue to be able to do that. And then, yeah, I have to like actively practice resting and not doing stuff like scheduling in resting. So that's the trade-off here is like, sure, like I am actively doing all these things, but like when I was like not feeling good and I was sick and like I was losing my voice and like I was going to probably get injured because I was doing too much, I had to be like, okay, like I have to make this challenging choice. It's either my voice or my students. So then I had to be like, okay, like I have to restructure this. I can't be taking on this many people. I can't be teaching this long. I have to say no. I did that this summer. I have to say no because I know what my threshold is. But I think when you're learning to hold more, again, you get better at learning what stays and what goes. But then you also slowly can expand your capacity for the chaos to be happening without it meaning a lot to you, right? It doesn't mean anything about me personally, and it doesn't spin me out or make me feel any certain way about myself when a lot is happening. A lot is always happening. So then if that becomes my normal and I become okay with that and I get my nervous system and my body to be like, okay, we don't have to freak out every time there's a lot because there's always a lot, then it actually expands my capacity to hold more. A lot of people are saying they want these big fancy lives. They want to be wealthy. They want a business. They want to scale. They want a million followers. They want all these things, but they're unwilling to do the hard work of expanding their capacity to be seen and witnessed, and also their own system's capacity to do more. I think one of the most interesting things about when I released this video and there was so much discourse, obviously older people may be making some other choices and I was challenging their life choices, and that's triggering. But also, like, when people have success, like I've been mentored by multiple like multimillionaire women who own amazing businesses. I've known like people that have had really large roles and like had to do press tours and movies and TV shows, and they're filming. Like, what do people think wealthy, successful people are doing, right? They're constantly working. They're always juggling more. That's part of the gig. If you want abundance and more, you have to decipher what is that to you. And some people want big careers and big visibility, but they actually don't. They want those things without all that comes with it. The chaos, the press tour, being exhausted, doing the Tony Awards, waking up at 4 a.m. to go to the CBS and then doing another show and then doing like, you can't have visibility without criticism, without running the risk inevitably of people misunderstanding you and not getting you, right? So you can't, like, when you say you want more and you want these things, you're going to get all that comes with it. And the way that you manage it is each choice at a time. I choose this over this in this moment because this is my budget and this is what I'm capable of doing at this time, but I'm still going to say yes to what is most aligned, okay? So that was the whole point of why I was bringing that up and what I wanted to talk about a little bit more here, because every single person's going to be different. Everybody's health is different, right? I'm hoping to bring you guys some more like information on money mindset and stuff so that you can work on ways to give yourself more abundance in that area, because money provides flexibility and freedom, which is a big reason why I'm telling you artists all the time, you cannot be villainizing money. It's a resource of an energy exchange that you need to make things happen. So figuring out a better dynamic with that can make it better, but everybody's at different places in their money story and how much money they have, right? Obviously that makes things easier. So all this to say is like, I want to offer you compassion if there are a lot of things you want to do and you've been listening to like, oh, I have to just focus on this. I would beg to differ. I think you can in your life, decide what matters to you by like maybe what matters isn't actually being in the New York Times. Maybe what matters to you actually isn't having 1 million followers. Maybe it's just time in nature with your family and home cooked meals. I don't know, but that is just as valuable of abundance than like the more stereotypical things that we hear, okay? But how you do this and how you live the life you want to live is you have to understand what is success to you, what is abundance actually to you, what feels good to you, and then you choose to embody that person, that version of you that has those things, and then you take one step at a time. And yes, it won't be easy. You're gonna have to make choices. So if you're able to stay grounded and connected to what matters, then it's easier to make those choices as you go. I've had to turn down auditions because I was doing a retreat at my friend's, retreat center that she was running. I've had to turn down a different audition recently because I did a conference at Ivacon and I elected to send in a self-tape instead of going in person. Would I have done that 10 years ago? No, I wouldn't have, because I would have thought that the self-tape wasn't going to be good and I was going to miss that opportunity and all of that. The more you allow your life to be full and do whatever you want at the time that you want, and you take ownership and control of that, along with the responsibility of what that means, and you're taking responsibility for your choices and actions, you can do whatever you want. It's just maybe not going to be in the time that you expected. So I'm all about emphasizing autonomy, emphasizing that you're actually more capable. If you're telling yourself that you don't have any other skills and you can't do anything else, then we need to like expand your interests a little bit, because I would rather you have as much success as you want so that you're performing as much as possible. But we all know to be able to perform consistently, you need to be keeping up on your skills. It's a business that needs to keep running. You're a business. So if you have the mentality, if you're going into conservatory, or if you're thinking of doing this, go in with the mentality, what skills that I don't hate, that I kind of like, that all other things that make me passionate, is there a way to make money from that so that it actually sustains me in my art and then I can keep going? Because we do not have control over the timing. What we have control of are the choices that we make that can keep us in the game. So I don't want to hear that bullshit anymore. I can't do anything else. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Artists have no idea how capable they are, how smart they are, how creative they are, how valuable they are in other settings. Does that mean you have to take a corporate job that you hate or you have to be like a lawyer where it's impossible? No, you don't. It's also possible to do things in different ways. There's so many remote jobs now. I know someone personally who owns a law firm and still auditions. I know someone that is a computer engineer that just booked their first equity regional job. That's what I mean. It's what matters and how are you going to tinker with these realities instead of just being I'm just going to live this way because that's what I've been told. This is it. And listen, if you're fine working your service job or your nanny job and auditioning, that's also fine. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying if it doesn't feel good and it doesn't feel sustainable, there is another way, and to not listen to the BS that you've been fed as being the only way. Anyway, I was a little spicy today, but I just wanted to make it its own thing for that because I felt it was important to go into more detail and just reemphasize actually how capable and talented you are outside of singing, dancing, or acting. And to look at ourselves from the place of the highest self-worth that we can. Start looking at it that way. If you have trouble with this, you don't know how to shift your mindset and your action and hold your nervous system through. Again, there's a couple things for you. The Abundant Artist audio series, incredible, gets you in a really good headspace when you're pursuing the arts professionally. It really helps a lot of people. People love it and it's free. If you want to take it up the next level, there's the Inevitable Artist Activation. This is a challenge that really makes you show up and start to work with your brain in a way that can set you up to be able to do multiple things and hold multiple things. And really, truly use energetics and quantum physics and how do we actually do neural manifestation by using our brain. So that's an intro to that. Inevitable Artist Activation. And then finally, the final boss step here is to join the Inner Circle membership, which really takes that neural rewiring to the next level. There's live classes that happen. There's guidance on how to work with your body and your nervous system as you're pursuing all of these things and hold yourself through. And I have personally used what's in the Inner Circle membership in my own life. And I've seen it with friends who have manifested all sorts of things. And also leaned into their purest, most joyful, creative life doing it. So all that to say, I'm going to leave you guys here on that note, but I love you. I care about you. I want you to live your fullest life in the way that feels good for you. Make choices that feel good to you. Don't let anybody tell you that you can or can't do something. And also know that as you're going the rugged path, the singer's path, if you're going on your own road, that there's, of course, going to be snags and snares, and you're going to have to make choices, but that doesn't mean that you aren't going to end up enjoying the journey that you're on and where you end up, all right? And after all of that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I am so excited that we're here on YouTube with video now. We're going to see how this goes, and I will talk to you later. Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. This helps me get this information out to more artists all over the world. Let's work together to spread the joys of music. Until next time, I'm your host, Sarah Bishop, signing off from the Singer's Path podcast. Thanks for listening.